And in meditation, I asked, so what, how do I do this thing? What does it mean to accept the polarities in practice? How do I do it? Do you know what the answer was that morning? Accepting the polarities means letting go of control. Now let others change, let's see what happens, and maybe if it turns out that way, I might change too. This is a lack of responsibility, absolutely. This is complete irresponsibility. If you know from the start that everything happens here and now, and to express yourself you must be 50-50. So just this knowledge that you are also a mind, but you know how to quickly focus where it's necessary.
Which is known as a law but not understood.
Yes, because you have to experience it.
Hello, once again we have Dr. Elena Petrova as our guest, and today, as we promised, we continue our conversation related to the 8 principles of development, our point of view. I can say that boldly. And most importantly, how it is applied in practice with examples, with understanding, with easier ways in which we can really understand them and start applying them more and more. Not as something so different, so distant, but as something natural that is a part of us. Welcome.
Thank you. I noticed this in my own life. Since I learned about the 8 principles and the 5 laws of existence, I realized that they actually operate on every level, flowing into each other. And anyway, we as humans, like all of nature, like everything else, move according to them, as does the whole universe. So it's really good when a person is familiar with the principles, when they delve into them. Now you already have many videos made about each principle, which are explained in detail, where people can get acquainted, observe what's happening around them, acquaintances, friends, in their own definition. And once they are familiar with the principles, they will see for themselves that this thing works. It works anyway. The question is, once we are familiar with this, can we work in unison, in sync with these principles, in harmony with these principles, for what we came to Earth to do? To be happy, to be able to enjoy life, to be able to help others, to be able to do our work properly, to be inspired. And for me, that's the meaning. And when I realized that, in fact, these are just 8 principles and 5 laws which actually overlap with each other. And I thought to myself, my God, how easy it is. How come until about 10 years ago, how come I didn't know about this until now? I have observed, I have felt, I have seen how things develop, but there was no explanation. That is, the principles were given 30 or 40,000 years ago, then they were buried, exactly so they wouldn't reach us. But now obviously the time has come for this thing to rise again along the spiral so that people can see another point of view. Because it's clear you can't live only in the energy world or only in the material one. Since you came here by your own will, you need to be able to do your work on Earth, but also to connect with it. During the day we work, at night we sleep. The energy world, one way or another.
All right, today I promised that I would go straight to the point. And I am grateful that we once again have the opportunity to discuss the principles in a slightly different way. And let's go through each one. Do you agree? All right? First principle, the all is mind. The universe is mental. Many people have already heard it, they know it, it sounds familiar to them, but still, let's say it. The all is mind, the universe is mental. What does that mean?
It means everything. It means first to accept that we are energy. That's something everyone has heard and it sounds familiar to them, but people can't really explain exactly what it is. It's about accepting that thought, the mind, the whole, is practically nothingness. It's what contains all the information, it contains all the energy. But anyway, it's in a state of rest, and when it's in a state of rest, it can't manifest or realize itself, it can't express itself. And the whole is mind, the world is mental as a result of a thought impulse, right? Movement causes the state of rest to release a certain amount of its information and energy, which we decide to study through our own impulse, for example, in our current manifestation. Yes, as Elena, I will explore being a dentist, I will explore doing this or that and something else on the side. And I start spinning in my own little sphere, but as I develop as I am, from then on I help others. I have chosen to help because I have realized that others are my mirror from which I can learn. I can also give, but by contributing through these interactions between me and the people around me, and not just people. You know, everything that exists, we actually contribute even to the source's own knowledge, which knows everything but doesn't know what it doesn't know. And actually, we fill in that gap in the source's knowledge again and again.
That's what drives us.
That's what drives us. And actually, these things were said long ago. That actually, as a result of our thoughts, wherever we direct our energy, we can manifest with action what we want. And notice now what's happening in the world. Everything around us is mind, the world is mental, we understand that, let's say that's true, and we pay attention, right, to what we're thinking, because the moment you set the impulse to do something, it appears together with its opposite. Here, that's how we move. Directly, here we flow. Yes, we flow into the law because they flow anyway. And for you to be here, you have stretched both directions. That's how it's said in cogitality. Mostly, what's it called? One photon is on one side, the other, these are the two polarities of your manifestation. That is, I am the person, for example, where we already assign relative meaning, the plus and the minus, whether it's good or bad, but these two things at the same time. And then, wherever we direct our thoughts about what we are going to do, that's where the manifestation happens.
Yes, explained very simply. Because since everything is mental, if we become aware of the mental field, well, our thoughts are also connected to that. The mental, meaning everything we think.
And we manifest it. That's why many people say, whatever I think about, it happens.
And from there, watch what you wish for.
Be careful what you think. Because really, that's how it is. Some people are tuned in, for example, they look at the world just a little bit negatively. And it starts now. Here, it won't work. He starts doing something, it won't work, and that won't work either. Here you'll meet obstacles, there you'll meet obstacles, and accordingly the impulse of that desire is strong there. Basically, it's like you're undermining it, as if you want the other thing, but you keep saying what won't work. You're undermining a certain outcome. And actually, in practice, you're focused on the fact that it won't happen. And the cells start feeling no, 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 and the universe immediately responds. There's nothing, and nothing good happens. Or when they say, I'm not doing anything wrong, it means we're always doing something. There's no way to never do anything wrong. And it's both nothing and bad in the cells, both nothing and bad. And then, why did this or that happen? Now, if a person knows these things, that one can't exist without the other, that is, the good or the bad, or one without the other, they simply can't exist.
That's how it is.
But if Elena can accept both polarities with equal strength, that is, to know that she is both the version of herself she likes very much, but also the version she doesn't like, and she is very much that too, the flaws. And, for example, if Elena accepts these two equally possible probabilities with equal strength, to accept them and understand that she is both one and the other. Or let's say that it's like that for everything about us, or for an illness, I have an illness, you accept with equal strength, I am healthy, and with equal strength you accept, I could also die from this thing.
That is yes.
But you accept that these are equally likely possibilities. But from then on, when you understand this and when you accept it, you yourself realize that you would never wish something bad upon yourself. It's not certain, for example, let's say I am suffering from an incurable disease. You won't focus on that or anything like it if you know about these two polarities. Naturally, just like in Michael Talbot's holographic universe. He tells a story about someone, where was he from? From Italy. A man suffering from cancer, and it was, yes, in the pelvis, in the bones. And the doctors give up on him because he is incurably ill, and they are just waiting for him to die. But he hears about something in Lourdes, I think it was the springs, which he hears about in France. And he believes that if he goes there,
he will get better.
It will help him. He goes. stays there for a month or two, comes back home, and then gradually starts to get better. After 2 years, I think it was 1962. In 64, when he goes to the doctor, they can't believe it. The first time the bone is almost healed, and the next time he goes, he is absolutely healthy. And accordingly, the Vatican declares this thing a miracle. But what kind of miracle is it? The man just focused. Did he say only you are dying? But he accepts that he won't die. He accepts that he is healthy. And then there are always ways. Where did he hear about Lourdes, about these choices? He heard it from somewhere. The information just starts coming to him. It's everywhere, the information he needs. And he, listening to his intuition, and most importantly, made this choice that he is healthy. And the universe starts to respond where? It starts looking everywhere for the possibilities for him, so he can grab as many of them as he can and get better. And in fact, these things are declared miracles, but they're not miracles. They're just knowing the laws, because what did St. Augustine say? That miracles are not different laws, but the ignorance of the laws?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's like chance is a law that is not known in the same way. Or this applies, for example, to luck, to those things that we overlook. They happen all the time. These are the so-called synchronicities, which are also connected to the principles. Yes, and the more we get to know them and accept them as part of everything, the more we see this holistic automated mechanism orchestrated by the universe, because this is an orchestra of which we are parts. That's right, and that's the beauty. All right? Their world is entirely mental. Everything is energy. Everything is one global field of thought, and all things, living or not, are alive and think. Should we discuss this here? This doesn't exist.
Everything has a personality.
Everyone is the easiest way for people who, in my opinion, can't imagine it. It's strange. In something that's declared to be a non-living object, does it have cells?
There may be cells with no bars, or whatever you call a cell.
Do I make cells? I had molecules. There's an object. How could there not be? Do we have molecules in us?
Of course.
The final quote is like this, the second principle: as above, so below, as below, so above. This is very, very broad.
It's broad, yet it seems simplified. And I say, yes, but so whatever is in the universe, the way things develop, the principles by which things develop in the universe, that's how they develop in our body. The universe is the big thing. Whatever is above, on top, however we want to perceive it, the body follows the same principle. Besides that, this law shows us that the same laws that operate in the energetic realm also operate in the material world. Exactly. And by knowing these things, we can help ourselves. By applying the laws that operate in the energetic realm, we can also apply them in the material world, so that our life becomes more meaningful and fulfilling. And it really is so. For example, if you look at an organ in the human body, let's say the heart or any other organ, it's made up of many cells. Yes, but all these cells share a common field. Yes, each has its own function, but they are organized just like the universe, let's say, by the heart. The heart is its limiting area, but the heart is part of our whole body. How many such cells do we have? How many such cells formed as organs? And they are all connected to each other, all working together and in sync. One cannot exist without the other. Not even for a moment. When you cross the diaphragm, it becomes the whole body. In the same way, in the universe, the principles are the same at the quantum level. Just as things work, in the same way they work in physical things, which relate to our body. That's why, for example, when you know you can meditate, whether you go into space or enter your own cell, it's the same. To ask it what it needs right now doesn't matter at all. You can do it. And you learn to talk to your own body, but we don't trust this ability of ours, even though your body tells you. Now, for example, I need to eat this or stop drinking water. What should I do? I won't forget. One time I was sick.
Yes.
And I wasn't feeling well. That was the previous time I was sick, not the most recent one. And I'm lying down and saying, oh God, Lord, what should I do now? I'm really not feeling well. Wait, I'll meditate one way or another.
So you have a fever?
Yeah, I have a fever. I know that when you have a fever, things happen very quickly. But then I decided to go into my cells to ask them what's going on now. What did I need? Because I want to get back on my feet as soon as possible. You have no idea how interesting it was. Those cells started to vibrate. My whole body began to resonate. I realized that I connected with the pure ones. They were so pleased that someone paid attention to them and asked what they wanted. And actually, they always say what they want.
How it happens, just a simple explanation of how it works.
I meditate, but I do it with the plasma sphere. And according to the theory of cogitality, it happens very quickly there. And that's how this meditation works. It is explained in an absolutely physical way. Everything is physics. Why it happens and how it happens, people can read about that. So there's no danger of thinking that this is just imagination or anything like that. Because my greatest imagination in a waking state, that is, when I'm not in the energetic realm, it's just not like that. No, I can't make it up. Anyway, I go inside and make a wish. I go inside the cells now. I used to make wishes in all the cells, not specifically, but I had done this with my liver when I wanted to heal it. But this time I specifically wanted to talk to all the cells. Yes, like that, in my whole body. And at that moment, everything just started to vibrate. I understand, I don't know how many times, why I think, but I talk to them. They were satisfied, they were happy that they got some attention and that someone asked them what they needed. And for example, then they told me, because you know I don't drink water, then they told me to get up and drink water. But they needed a little water. They directly showed me that they needed water. I got up, swaying, went and drank half a glass of water in sips. It went down, they said, little by little, little by little. That's how a high fever looks. I just go with things without keeping track and think about them later. I do what they say, and it either helps or it doesn't. Nothing worse can happen. Either it won't help or it helps. That's it. But since then, I learned to always talk to them, and I learned. For example, me, because I don't eat much, but there are things that, for example, today I might eat them or I might not eat them. Or sometimes I feel like eating something, but I ask them, what do you feel like eating today? I get an answer, and then I realize that I'm not the only one. Someone else wants to eat something too, and so I go and eat. I don't follow any strict diet because I'm against those extremes, like now I'll be vegan, now I'll be vegetarian, and then I'll be a meat eater. Ask your body. It will tell you. Everybody reacts differently, and it's good to know that. For me, as above, so below, it applies completely and exactly. Just like accepting polarities for health, and not only that, it's for everything. But now, you know, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, it's a very broad principle, right? Yes.
It's for all of this.
That I have reached. The point is that, for example, the principle as above, so below, as below, so above. It's a principle of principles. It's a principle within the principles. So this is another deeper level that can be considered in this way. The principles themselves are also as above and as below.
That's exactly right.
Yes, in principle. The principle of vibration is that nothing is at rest. Everything quivers, everything moves, everything vibrates.
Driven by the act of thinking, the impulse, there is no stopping the vibration. We are all vibration, we are energy, because that's what energy is. We are continuous waves that vibrate. These waves can fade. We know that when they overlap, they become twice as big. But the point is, there always has to be an impulse, because a wave fades, and people have collected that. When someone passes away for 4 weeks, their presence isn't felt for 4 weeks, that is. Later, scientists proved how the wave fades, and again it starts from there. There is an explanation for everything. Nothing is strange or mystical. There is an explanation for everything because it's 4 weeks. His presence is felt, but during that time he could have gone somewhere else entirely and already be there. Waves.
It's important to clarify that this wave, let's not get the impression that it just disappears. No.
Helmholtz's law. Energy is not lost, it transforms, it can't just disappear. This is energy, it is continuous, it can transform from one form to another, but it doesn't disappear. So that's why we actually say that we are immortal. Practically, once you appeared here, you exist, and that is unchangeable. The first law of existence, that is. Things always flow. One is the universal laws of existence. The other is the principles of development, because we have come here, after all, to develop ourselves. Otherwise, it seems pointless to come here to Earth and spend your whole life just as a baby, right? For example, until you're 80 years old, or until you decide to just be. Now, everyone wishes a newborn an easy life, right? And wants everything to be as easy as possible for the child. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean that you are here to grow? And, to always be protected from mistakes, from this and that. And that's another misunderstanding, right? There are no mistakes, there aren't. Everything is an experience. Even if you make a mistake in the sense that we understand it, that's like you did something and it didn't satisfy you and the result is negative. Let's say, and now we say that's it, it's a mistake and I won't do this job anymore. That's usually how it happens.
Yes.
For example, a little girl, let's say, is riding a bike, gets on a bike for the first time, falls, it hurts, and she starts to cry. And if there's no one around to tell her, try a second time, a third time, then what? She'll go through life thinking, that's it, I'll never ride a bike. Yes, these things are important, no doubt about it. Okay, the result isn't what we expected, because we usually expect a result, but that result wasn't achieved. All right, I'll take the other path. At least you know that this one won't work because it doesn't bring a positive result. And these things are constantly present in all of our daily lives. It's like that for everything, even for the smallest things. And really, everything is continuous. It moves both outside and inside. And really, just like your pendulum, once it's set in motion, it continuously moves from point to point. But when you have the positive result that you, for example, expected or achieved recently, you don't return to the same point of the pendulum from which you started, because you have developed and because you have changed your perspective, and you will move the very center of the pendulum. And what used to be a plus for you, when it comes back, will become your minus, which will provoke you to look for something else again. Come on, because people think of the pendulum and start thinking that whatever I do, it's like a clock. The pendulum just swings left and right, and that's it. Nothing more. There is progress, because when you change your point of view, you will move. Just like if you are negative, you will still move. See, it's like you've changed your perspective. The point is, from the other law of polarities, you should know that these are two equally likely possibilities. To accept them equally and to direct your attention where you want.
That is practically applied. This means, for example, when, let's say, we are at work and we learn whatever we do, whatever our job is, how and in what way to direct our attention. From there, we start to explore this principle. And whatever happens to us, for example, here comes a very famous quote from Bashar. It doesn't matter what happens to you. What matters is how you react to what happens. That is, we can change our point of view at any moment.
We can know these things now, because usually, let's say we go to work and maybe we don't really love our job. And now it starts, and while you're at work, you start thinking, oh, when I get home, maybe tonight we can go out with friends. You're not at work or anywhere else, but in the evening with friends, you say, oh, today at work this happened. So where are you really? You haven't finished your work, nor have you had a normal, pleasant meeting with your friends. To learn something from them, or for them to learn something from you, and so on. And actually, we wander between these two things. Now let's say you go to work, you go with the mindset that with equal probability it might work out or it might not, but overall, you know that you're going to work to get the job done as well as possible, so you go, you finish it, and while you're doing it, by the way, while you're focused only on that. For me, that's exactly how it is. I never think about other unrelated things. I know when I'm done, I'm done. And from there, I start the next thing I've decided on. And people are like that too. Sometimes they say, oh, there's so much work, I can't handle it. Well, just do it. One thing at a time, then it goes quickly, then you can do it. Because we ourselves stretch out this space and time, you can get a lot more work done in that time. That's the expansion of the range.
Exactly, and here the other law of existence is included as well, that everything is here and now. They blend together very nicely. Because if we realize this, at some point you can truly be focused on only one thing anyway. If we have to be precise only on one thing, then like for us here right now, time starts to flow differently. For example, we talk at night, I feel like 5 hours have passed, but it's only been 2. And my body, the moment I get out of this focus, if I tell my body to, it's already ready for bed. It'll be tired the moment I get out. But while I'm inside the bubble, the energy bubble, I can stay for 12 hours without eating, without drinking water, just talking and exchanging information and energy.
That's right, but that's just how things go. And
that's important to note. We're all like that.
Absolutely, we're all like that. Exactly. The thing is, if you realize that everything happens here and now, meaning where does everything happen? Here and now. That's only in the point of perception. But things are always there, and that we ourselves stretch space and time to have a past, present, and future. But in principle, we have already set that impulse in motion. We have already manifested ourselves from that point on. We make choices one way or another, we make them. The point is, if we become aware that we are doing this, it's clear that you understand what your responsibility is, that every second you are making so many choices. During that time, you can raise your hand, you can wipe a few parts, but you can also make some pretty serious decisions. But that's also true for every single action. It's an impulse that constantly triggers the vibration. Yes, it constantly triggers that movement we were talking about when we discussed the laws. And that's why they really flow into each other, and it's as if we've arranged them this way so we can logically connect them. But they really do work, because everything is here and now, so we act.
They work simultaneously. We try to assign levels to them, rank them like first, second, third, fourth, but they are
all at the same time. It's like here, when you understand the moment here and now, it's clear to you. And the other law, the law of cause and effect, is that everything is in the moment, here and now. It happens at the same time, that is, we know what the consequence will be, but here, in the linear world, when something happens, something else follows as a result, and then another thing appears as a consequence. Well, yes, but it's not exactly like that. And if these things are known, we wouldn't rely so much on this linearity. And the other thing, again, is related to health. So now it's clear. Now I'm young and I'm 25, I'll turn 347, that's it. I won't forget when I was little, when I was in high school, my classmate and I were walking past a tree, and there was an obituary. At 40 years old, someone says Megatitoska department. And she says, yeah, right, what year will we be 40? She says, 2000 something. Oh, Mileta, oh dear. Yeah, but now it's 2025, right? And now what can we say? Just look at it. But anyway, when you say to yourself, yeah, at 20 years old, right? At 40 and then suddenly at 60. At some point you say to yourself, God, my things, you know, you look at your wrinkles, but it's normal, right? It's normal to have wrinkles. It's normal for your legs to hurt. It's normal. Everything is, so this thing that has been given meaning, why should it be normal? Let me ask. Yeah. There are many people who are my age and much older than me who look really good. There are people my age who look much worse, and you would say they're older. These are, you know, the filters we've put on ourselves, I mean, with understandings and beliefs, and the cells.
Which you also said.
The thought is the most important. Yes, you're exhausted, you're tired, everything hurts.
And you want to go to bed?
And to sleep. And now if I tell you, you need more rest, why? I have a lot of work to do, that's rest for me. And now when I tell them more. Rest, which means to replace one type of work with another, that's your rest, because during that time you are doing.
You change your focus, you always do something else.
And it's better to know that, because that applies to thinking too. But you're already old, now you just stay at home, or you'll just look after the grandchildren, or you don't know. You find a job, if by chance, who found you a job, that's it. Your thinking found you a job, of course.
If you want to support everything we do on our channels, you can do it through PayPal, Patreon, or by becoming a member of the Pokloni channel. Thank you for giving us the reason to keep creating consciously, to change, to grow, to improve, and to learn from each one of you. The principle of opposites is the fourth one. Everything is dual, everything has two poles, everything has its opposite. The same and the different are one and the same. Opposites are identical in their nature, but differ in degree. Opposites attract each other. All truths are half-truths, all paradoxes can be reconciled. How is this understood in practice? It's quickly.
Have we been rushing through it so far? The two polarities, yes. The two polarities, by the way, this is one of the hardest things to accept as a practical exercise, which we talked about a little earlier, is about the polarities. First, we are used to thinking that we are the most accurate, the best, and in general, our opinion is the most important. We don't want to hear anything else at all, everything I know, and that's it, end of story. We think we're very smart, and yes, you are smart, but you're smart because of what you have inside you, what you've accumulated up to this point, right? That's fine for the moment. And now we can't even admit that we have the other polarity, but if we know the principles, we'll understand it and accept it. Because some things in the brain need to change in order to be able to accept all these things. This is the change in thinking to change those neural connections that we have created. Because this is a 180-degree turn from what you have known and what you have believed, this information is 180 degrees different. It requires reading, it requires applying, not just a superficial reading. It's not enough just to watch. There is already a lot of information, just like your channel is constantly broadcasting. A lot of things have been done. And still we see that people don't find it very important, or they don't want to believe it, or it seems like fantasy to them. And I don't know what's in their heads, but it seems right for a person to get acquainted with something different, something that is different from 30 or 40,000 years ago. Why do we reject it? And why should we think that we are always right? Nothing. You listen to the other information and then decide what it is, observe, see, apply it, put it into action, and you'll see if it's true or not. No one has put a gun to your head and told you that's it, end of discussion, but otherwise we can put the gun to our own head by focusing only on that. For example, negative thinking, nothing will get better, everything is really bad, the world is bad. But those are just things. If you know the laws, the principles of development, there's no way you can say your world is bad, because you'll be fully aware that you are projecting this world with your own proton fields. This is your creation, this is your mirror, and you are the only one who can smile and make others smile. You can't expect the mirror itself to smile first, and then you, just like we often think, let others change first, let's see what happens. And maybe if things turn out that way, I might change too. The lack of responsibility, that's complete irresponsibility. And when I say that, it's like, well, there's no way things will change. The world isn't like that. You can see where it's headed and what's happening. I'm saying there shouldn't be any. But the issue is how we change, how our thinking shifts when we see the state of things. In my world, the people I meet, most of them have a changed mindset, and we are working in that direction. And there are quite a few of us, because we do quite a lot when you look at it. Because we actually do it, it's not just talk, we apply it, we do it, we take action, and I do too. We see in our meditation sessions for women how each time it expands more and more, there are more things, we see that everyone is truly happy. Why wouldn't we be able to? It's a change in mindset. This way we can change the mental field of humanity, of the earth. Well, according to the formula, how much was it? 50,000 people are needed on the whole earth who can hold this focus. We don't need anything special, just persistence. 50,000 people out of 8 billion is nothing. If it's just for Bulgaria, that's 500 people because we're 8 million. Well, for how long? These teachings have been in Bulgaria specifically. We've understood them, they've been taught, and they've been written down. And how many people actually took it up? And to apply it, to see, and to see that there's benefit for the sake of others. Because it's not just for you, by the way. You go along with the energy, and that's why things work out for you and develop as they should. So they're not difficult. The point is patience and persistence and meditation. If you regularly connect to the information field and learn how to do it, you'll get the information you need, and if you want, you'll get an explanation of how you receive it. Here are the 8 principles, and not to say, no, everything is like this, nothing will ever change, and to keep piling it up exactly like that. The earth, which I personally don't like to see that way.
Like that. What follows, we already discussed it. Right now it's coming in, but still we will say it The fifth principle is that everything flows in and out, everything has its tides and ebbs. Yes, the swinging of the pendulum is present in everything. The rhythm of the swing to the right is the rhythm of the swing to the left. The rhythm balances itself out. I think we explained that we went through the principle of cause and effect. We also touched on it. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens in accordance with the law. Chance is nothing but the name of a law that is not known. There are many levels of causation, but nothing escapes the law. So, does that mean whether we want it or not? We are guided by these principles, we exist.
Thanks to.
Yes.
And these principles guide us. And most importantly, they are principles for growth, yes, and they expand our knowledge. And the cause and the effect are again connected exactly with the here and now. Yes.
Yes, because when there's no time,
this is now.
Cause and effect merge, making it impossible to tell what's forward or backward. Not to mention, if you dig a little deeper, it turns out that if you've completely changed the person you are, your personality at the moment, and your point of view is totally different, you start to remember completely different things from the past that match the choice you're making right now.
That's exactly how it is, because when you change your choice, you become a different person, and you just arrange things because you stretch space and time yourself, and you arrange the frames, the past, and possibly the future. And you can even be here with the new choice. And you can be 70 years old, but the frames arrange themselves, so you remember when you were born, this and that. The frames are static, and our thought passes through them. And that's the illusion of movement. Because in practice, let's say it directly, everything is an illusion.
That's right. How do you understand the seventh principle? I'm really interested in your point of view. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all levels.
It is very closely related to the principle of polarity. These things overlap there. And gender is in everything. And that's true on a literal level too. For example, if you picture one gender, that's true both literally and, how should I put it, on an energetic level. It's the same again. Things are everywhere in the same way. And actually in this principle of gender, what is included? It is included in such a way that, first of all, it is included. So when you manifest, you will always be 50-50. What we were talking about, we are already putting on them. The meaning of whether it will be good or bad, whether it's white or black, whether we are the ones doing it, but either way it's stretched 50-50. And space, time, depending on the choice. That's why it's individual and unique. Because each person at the moment of the impulse that drives their manifestation, a range is determined in which it will appear. What should they study in order to learn this? To learn what they came for? But it comes out at a different speed. Its impulse has a different speed. And depending on that, everyone's individual space and time stretch differently. One has decided, for example, to study more extensively and to benefit a bit more here, while another has decided to study, let's say, a bit less. Time. We are still people and we are mirrors and reflections, but each one is individual and unique. Precisely because of this spatial reason, because he stretches space-time differently. And after stretching space-time differently, his parallel reality is different from the parallel reality, let's say, of his neighbor. And now, when there is, let's say, a channel between them, they have to interact for some reason. Like how we didn't know each other, but then it just happened. We find a common intersection where these things cross, and we are together because we have, let's say, one idea.
A thought about what's happening, to explain to people what happens when such a channel with energy is established, what happens to it.
What happens then, you can establish, you can have many interactions, not just with your neighbor or your friend. You can interact with others, with other worlds. You can go to different planets. You can explore different things. I've traveled like that and gone around the earth. It's interesting to me. And for example, now when people ask me, well, don't you like going on trips and so on? Why don't you go on trips? Tell me.
No.
Not that you don't go. I rarely go out, by the way. I also like going to Bulgaria. I love it there, but otherwise I rarely go out. But, well, where should I go? When I decide, for example, tonight I want to take a walk over South America, well, I go. I look. Now, why would I have to travel there, spend 11 hours traveling and so on? That satisfies me. These are some of the possibilities. Another interesting thing is to connect with other entities and to be able to get some information that interests you. It's interesting, last night I tried Navaliato's channelings when she played them, when we only go in as far as the cylinder. And I did it right away that same evening when I played it a few months ago. And I thought to myself, look how nicely she did it. And it never occurred to me to do it that way. Even though when I call them, you know how I do it? I do it like this. The moment I activate the ladder, I summon the plasma sphere in the center and turn it toward the tunnel. And actually, I'm in the tunnel, even while I'm still in the tunnel, and I say I'm either at a Neely, I want to meet with one, and they appear to me at the lower part. I imagine it like at my feet, at his level. I see them as if in the distance, but I know them by night. While I was hearing the channeling coming in, I said to myself, wait a minute, now I know this. I've done it before. Let me try to do something different. Let's see what happens. And I started going up. I didn't expect it. I didn't know what she would do or how, but it was very interesting because she said, you know, when you start going up, now you'll see different like paths. I mean, parallel realities in somewhere where they intersect. And now I responded now very directly, and now I started doing it like that again because it's both a bit different and I get that information, it's different again. But the way is familiar to me. I want to try something a bit different, which also works for me. It works, so why not try it, right? Otherwise, if you keep doing the same thing, somehow it feels heavier. But here it is. This is sharing. She shared these things with people and I'm sure there are people who have done it besides me. For me, there was a result and it made me really happy. And now, when I decide to just do the channeling, not to go into meditation, even though for me they overlap, and again, it doesn't matter. But I'm curious now, using the new approach, to see how I can do it faster. It will happen differently. You're trying to grow. Yes, because it's not right to just stay at that level.
You know, it's like, let's say you live in one place and you work in another place. It's like learning to take different routes to work.
Exactly.
Also not to travel every day for 20 years on the same path.
This leads to dementia. And then if you have to take another path, and if dementia has already set in, you won't be able to manage. That's it. And do you notice why there are so many people with dementia lately? I just think about it. And these are usually people who have been intelligent, but very controlling. I noticed this with my mother because she had dementia. And where did it come from? Do you support it? I do, because my close relatives have documentation. The controllers are...
So this is very much related to, it's not described in this way, it's like a universal sub-principle. It's that the greatest control is actually trust. Because if we truly trust that we are everything, we are one, we are life itself, even, well, nothing, we might get scared and frightened. And if we stop controlling, and this can be very clearly expressed in practice, I'll give an example with us right now. If we insist, no, we've said we'll come to Varna on Friday and we'll definitely film an episode with Selena. We ruin the possibility of what could happen, which might be better for us on that day. It might happen that we're tired, you're not tired, you don't have the same excitement. The energy is forced, and as a result, this is transferred to other people, or it even gets to a point where it doesn't happen at all. The camera breaks, someone slips, it's pouring rain, you could crash the car, and so on. If you let things be and say, okay, let's go with intuition and we have an agreement, it might actually turn out better.
Right, that's how it happened.
Let's not force the flow.
First you said, and I say, what are you saying? Tell me, people. And we say, and that's how it should be said. We should share with each other.
Say what you really think inside.
We'll get the job done either way. The real goal is making it best for everyone. That's exactly it.
And things happen very easily then, even without trying hard, without having any controlling beliefs like that. Come on now, 9, this has to be done exactly like this.
That's control. Once, years ago, the second time I was at the Kogitalnos Academy. And again, the question of polarities, of acceptance, and in meditation. So I asked, how to do this, what it means to accept the polarities in practice, how to do it. And do you know what the answer was in the morning? Accepting the polarities means letting go of control. That's exactly what was said. In other words, if you can accept with equal strength really exactly what we were talking about and not impose your own opinion, when you really learn to accept the polarities, you stop controlling, you stop but when you know the laws, you still understand this thing. You are not the controller, it's not you. Try to learn to live really according to the principles and laws. Because if you are aware of that, whatever you emit is what you receive in practice, well, it's clear that you won't do many things. If I emit malice, I will get malicious people around me. If I emit happiness, I will get happy people around me. Now, according to the law of Ruda, half of the people might be happy to enjoy my happiness, and the other half will also be happy. Suppose someone is just watching me. They'll still be happy. That's the law of gender. They won't be too negative. So what if there's envy or sadness? But it will be like that, without malice, without anything, but they will still be happy, meaning they won't do it out of spite. So that's exactly what this law of gender is. And because we always focus on how good we are, and you say to yourself, yes, yes, but the moment you focus how good I am, instantly it's 50-50 again, and you're just as good. And again, it's like that, but with 50% left, 25 you're good, 25, and again, you're like, but how? I'm really very good. Okay, let's move on. That is, with 20%, they'll be at 12.5%. And in the end, what does it actually come down to? When we only look at how good we are, we're only 3-point-something% good, not even 4%. And in reality, we're the bad ones compared to the others. And that's why it's good for a person to know this is the tree of life, and family is in everything. Because if you know yourself, for example, and you look at the other 50% where, let's say, you're negative or maybe you're too much there. You have some kind of cursor of your own, and now you try to place it on this tree, the family tree. Well, for example, let's say I'm big and I'm above, let's say, and I'm above, yeah, but I'm above. And I want, everything to go my way. I'm both the controller and above and so on. But I understand that since I know the principles, I can change something. How can I change it in the name of the people? Because you're close to the ladder, it's not really, right? You start negative, 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 yes, okay? In the end, you realize that you're in a smaller percentage, negative, negative, because you've only focused on negativity. And then you realize, though, that your brain can process them, meaning the negative percentages, and you start going back down the ladder. And at one point, when you reach the bottom, you end up being 54% negative, 51% positive, you're basically balanced from there on. But then you think, okay, even the quality that I have, the negative one, how can I use it to help people? First of all, it's not that because you come to the conclusion that you do this for the sake of others, right? Not to prove something to yourself, not because you want to, control. And so you say to yourself, yeah, right. So what did we say? Did we say I am? Where did we start from? The stubbornness. This stubbornness now, let me try to turn it around. So how can I use this stubbornness to help people? So to change the direction a bit, like for the sake of others, stubbornness for the sake of others. And now you start doing something, whether you create a show, whether you share your opinion somewhere, whether someone needs you, and you will do everything possible to help them. And in the end, people will turn around and say, wow, you are really, focused. So that stubbornness has already become something useful to others. And it helps, right? It doesn't harm anyone, not even you. On the contrary, it helps others. You have already realized that these negative qualities, in my opinion, there is an easier way. If you know about the existence of the family line and everything, even at 50%, once you understand it, you should tell yourself, wait, there's something here. You talk too much if you talk too much. Come on, find a way to help others. Whether you'll be explaining to patients, whether you'll go somewhere to speak out from a podium, or whether we'll start on the street. And yes, whatever it is, you have to find a way. I've thought many times about that law, the one where everything flows together. If you actually know, first of all, that everything happens here and now, and second, that in order to express yourself, You have to be 50-50. So just having that knowledge that you are also consciousness, at least in my experience, that's how it is. I understand that in the very moment, I understand whatever event manifests. Then you learn to pay attention, you realize that it's always 50-50. Always, and then however, how to quickly focus where it's needed. And really, if that's the direction, it doesn't mean that a person shouldn't have a car, shouldn't have a house, or should give all their money to someone. No, that's not what it's about. That's not the point. You can do that too if you want. Yes, of course, donate, give away, and so on, whatever you want to do. Although I'm a bit hesitant about donations, I have a boy, they're there waiting for someone to do something, those who organize these donations. At least that's my observation. I'm glad there are children who have been helped, but it's not necessary to help only at Christmas. Or does it come across to me as these donation organizations showing off, at least to me personally? Yes, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I am, but there's always a way to help if you want to. It's not necessary and it doesn't need to be advertised. That's what I want to say. That's my understanding. Thank you for saying that. I'm just sharing my perspective. So we want to, and we reach the 8th principle.
And towards the end of our meeting today, which is known as the law that is not known, subscribe.
Yes, because you have to experience it. And what we talked about is exactly that. If we know all these things and we reach the last law, which again unites absolutely all of these that we talked about, that the pursuit of anything appears with its polarity, both in the pursuit itself and in the very thing being pursued. And only focus determines the nature of the result. If there is no focus, everything remains possible, because where does it remain? It remains in dreams, in unrealized possibilities, in vacuum fluctuations. But that's what the law was for, the one we know, and that's how the Hermetics declared it, because you have to experience it. But now I notice that from this knowledge we have, thanks to the theory of capitalness, which has collectively gathered all this knowledge. Hermeticism, the old teachings, all esoteric teachings, physics, chemistry, medicine. So this gives you a very global perspective, this view, so that we can see that this law can actually be known, especially for me. Because if we are familiar with the other laws and see how we act, we understand that we live by this law. In practice, it appears to be the only one, but it seems that without the others, you can't really explain it.
And realize it.
Yes, and actually, now that I think about it, it's really true. The more times you explain it, that's why it works that way. You should share what you know, and if needed, you'll explain it. 7 times. You know how Christ said 77 times? Explain it to people, because in the end, you will truly understand it even better yourself. We hope others will too. Everyone can share their experience. Of course, it will be helpful. It will absolutely be helpful to everyone, and there's nothing to worry about. Otherwise, everything else is just some kind of filters, like, what will people say now? Yeah, the people who would say something to you won't even watch it, that's it. Or if they do watch it, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe one person will be happy, and so what? And I'm telling you.
Shout out to all the happy folks. I've made more of you again. Well, I'm glad we're ending with a smile, and most of all that I am truly happy and grateful. Once you get into this subject, let's call it that. It's endless, no matter where you start from. Yes, on the surface it may seem like you go through the same thing every time, but actually that's not the case. Every time we discover new things, new worlds, new people who appear just like that, out of nowhere. For example, I can give an example about the end of the show, if you allow me, with Valio. This year we said that we wouldn't force or control things, not even the minimal control that we usually have. We won't plan too many people or topics in advance, we'll just leave things reasonably open, meaning just a few guests and shows ahead. We'll let things unfold and let inspiration show us the way. Which are the most suitable pieces that will spark the next flow and keep expanding this knowledge more and more. This applies to everyone, just like these meetings that are happening. We didn't plan it this way, and yet it turns out so well. So everyone who truly wants to open up and is ready to be genuine, to enter these worlds, because everyone has an experience. At least that's what I've found with the people around us, even if they claim they have nothing. Actually, you are thought and vibration, and your presence means you have an experience. That's why I wanted to specifically thank you for doing this show together. It was a great pleasure for me.
For me as well. Thank you. And once again, I want to say it makes me happy that young people like you are involved in this.
Thank you. Hello, thank you very much for watching another episode of Isildavatelnia Realnost. Subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future. Leave a thumbs up, we won't be mad at you. Share it with your friends, become members of the channel, because the more the better. Thank you for walking together with us toward a true awakening, an awakening of each one of us from the illusion that surrounds us. We thank each one of you for your support, for your persistence, for your patience, for your understanding, for your honesty, for the change. See you soon.